So over the last couple of years, I've been observing podcasts from afar, and one growing trend I've seen is that podcasts almost always face some sort of turmoil as they become more popular and money starts being discussed.
Sure, I guess it's pretty much the same for any business relationship, I suppose, right? Okay.
Problem most podcasts seem to have is that the main talent sees themselves as the essential piece to the show, because after all, they're typically the one bringing in the audience in the first place.
True. But then I think that they tend to underplay the relationship. It can be very difficult to get into a good, positive relationship with somebody that you could do a solid podcast with, right? Like, even if you're the bigger bringer-inner, it could take a very particular person that you could do a really solid back and forth with to not only be entertaining and engaging, but also something that makes you happy, if that makes sense, to keep, because you need to be happy when you do stuff or else you won't want to do it, right? Especially if you're rich, because there's no actual money motivate. Well, I guess there's still a money motivator, but you could walk away and take the financial hit. You know what I'm saying?
And so at that point, they begin to see their co-host as replaceable employees.
Okay.
That's exactly what we saw last year with the Joe Budden podcast, when Joe Budden did the completely on-brand move of self-destructing and destroying everything he has built up for years.
I don't know anything about Joe Budden, so I can't really speak
Rory,
to that.
you are in breach of your contract, and from this point forward, you are fired.
Well, if he's in breach of contract, I don't know.
And you're not welcome back.
Though I will say in retrospect, it was probably in the best interest of all parties involved that they went their separate ways. But damn, do I miss that trio. Recently, we have been talking a lot about Logan Paul's podcast Impaulsive, and the problems they have been having in regards to their C-Mike co-host, Curious George.
Wasn't there an issue with the Island Boys where that guy said something that told the Island Boys to be like responsible with their money, and they got offended and left, and now the Island Boys are not kind of irrelevant? I mean, same, but you know what I mean? It's kind of funny, yeah.
Ever since he walked off the Bobby Lee episode.
And now we're going to have to deal with the fallout of this episode for the next 2 months.
You could tell at that moment that not only was George upset, but
Why did he walk off the episode?
Logan was also really pissed off as well.
Wait, why did he walk off the Bobby Lee? Does anybody have like a quick rundown of that?
You could tell at that moment that not only was George upset, but Logan was also really pissed off as well. If there's one thing that Logan takes seriously, it's his content. And if he feels there's any sort of liability on his team...
He got roasted by Bobby Lee? I don't want to watch this full video. But
I actually haven't spoken up about it because I was trying to word it. You know, because there's so many people that we're talking. So this is the best way that I can put it. I can't ever tell the people around me how to act and how to be and how to treat me, how to do this type of situation. And I've learned that accountability is the fastest way for growth, and it's so hard. And it's really hard to make a mistake in front of people too, let alone...
Wait, what had happened? Somebody give me a rundown. I had no fucking clue.
It's been well documented that he has no problem essentially telling people to take a hike for the sake of continuing to make what he sees as the best content possible. And in my opinion, George being on this podcast is kind of like a ticking time bomb for Logan, really just waiting to explode. He's already replaced this C-Mike twice in the past, and I see it happening again soon. He already made it very clear that he completely sided...
He didn't understand Bobby's humor, and everyone was dogging on him, so he walked. Oh, is that it? Was he making fun of his religion or something? Like,
with Bobby,
it was his fault. Bobby, you were right.
And from the very beginning of this newest episode, you can see Logan and George trading these awkward jabs at each other back and forth.
I just want to let you guys know that this is off to a fantastic start.
Thanks to you, buddy.
I'll pull out my notes. I got something.
No, I got something to say.
Can I ask you questions?
Sure, George. I guess this is a podcast number 4.
Maybe this is why. Okay, well, listen. I know it's all humor, but I mean, maybe he felt uncomfortable with the touching. I don't know the situation very well, but I mean, this is a picture that comes up of him getting touched. I can see why he'd be upset with that. Maybe he asked him to stop. I mean, like, I guess you could set that boundary.
Where, you know, it's by design. That's the goal.
Now, in the last few videos, I've been pretty tough on Curious George, but here I'm definitely going to be throwing him some bail, because around 12 minutes in, they begin to have a debate about religion, and obviously George is the religious dude on the podcast, whereas Logan essentially represents this agnostic viewpoint of the world.
Okay.
He bases his reality on facts and science, and
well, agnosticism is like the concept that, you know, yeah, like it says right here, you neither believe or disbelieve in God, or you might have a different interpretation of God. I'm more of an agnostic person. Bobby kept touching George. I could see why he would walk away. I think Bobby also pulled his pants down in front of him or something. Yeah, you know, that's definitely over the line. I mean, if that's what happened, and Bobby was doing that, I like Bobby Lee. He's very funny, but like there are physical boundaries, and you can only use comedy as an excuse to such a degree. When you start touching somebody, if they're like, bro, don't do that, like, you have to respect that boundary. You cannot continuously touch somebody in an inappropriate way. just because you're a comedian, right? I mean, like, this gets into a conversation about like men boundaries versus women's boundaries. If it was like a woman getting touched, we would have been like, oh, you need to stop doing that. But it's a guy getting touched. We're like, well, he can handle it. But it's like, well, it's kind of inappropriate because he can handle it, mentality kind of just encourages the behavior, right? It's kind of shitty. I could see why he'd get upset. I don't think that Bobby Lee's a horrible person, but like, you need to be able to set that firm boundary. And again, I didn't watch it, but it's also possible. It's like, well, we have Bobby Lee on here. We don't want to make him upset, so we're not going to set the boundary as hard. And so Logan doesn't defend his friend, who seems, from what it's a very limited bit I've seen, his friend George seems to be in the right there. So,
presents this agnostic viewpoint of the world. He bases his reality on facts and science, and basically not hope and belief like George. And so Logan comes from this viewpoint that because things like being gay or having sex before marriage are looked down upon in the Bible, he basically thinks religion has no merit in its totality.
Yeah, no, religion has a good amount of merit. I have a buddy of mine. His name is Curly Daddy 101. Hopefully he got his account back because he got his account hacked. Oh, he's a really good guy. He's a TikToker that like I grew up with. Oh, it looks like he still hasn't gotten it back. That's sad. So there was my buddy, but Curly Daddy 101. He's a very religious guy, but the way he interprets religion is like really solid and it's very respectful. And he has really solid interpretations on the way that he perceives it, right? It looks like the page isn't even up at all. He does have a gaming channel though, guys, so go check him out. And so like when it comes to relationships, a lot of the times like some religious aspects in relationships, like men and women, a lot of people will use be like, oh, well, religion is very sexist towards women. And I think that historically it's been a contributor to giving men a bit too much power and making it so that like women may not be able to speak up against violence in some capacity. But Curly's perspective is like, hey, listen, like a man is the head of the household. And to be the head of a household means that you are in service of the household. So he has a very respectful engagement when it comes to religion. There's a lot of positives that come from religion. I think that there are some negatives too. I think that for me, one of the things that's turned me off to religion a bit is the concept of speaking down on gay people. And it's frustrating because there's a lot of solid values. I grew up very religious. I used to go to church every Sunday. I would go to church every Christmas. Like my mother was very religious. Not like super duper religious, but she was like she would be very engaged in religion. We would go religiously, right? That's kind of waned as time went on. And for me, a lot of that is that, like, when it comes to some of the power dynamics, when it comes to gay people, like looking down on gay, I have a lot of gay friends and family. And like, I don't like that, but there's a lot of positives from religion, like being monogamous, focusing on building your family. These are great things that have positive outcomes. I wouldn't say religion is bad. I personally don't know if Jesus or God exists, but I like to think that they do. I just don't know. I feel like my perspective is like somebody's playing telephone tag with what God has said, though, because there's no fucking way. I don't know, dude. I think that at the very least, God's got to come back down and be like, hey, listen, bro, this is what I think again. Because somewhere along the line, some priest fucked everything up for the rest of us, okay? So, I went to church religiously. Yeah. So I respect religion. You can still make jokes about religion, but I don't like the homophobia, man. It bothers the fuck out of me.
Marriage are looked down upon in the Bible. He basically thinks religion has no merit and basically not hope and belief like George. And so Logan comes from this viewpoint that because things like being gay or having sex before marriage are looked down upon in the Bible, he basically thinks religion has no merit in its totality.
I just don't know if I can get behind. Like, that's silly to me. That seems silly to me. So I think it's a silly practice to engage in, and I think it deserves satire. Like, come on, bro.
Yeah, but that's not
subscribe to a doctrine that slams homosexuality. Come on, bro. That's ridiculous. I just am definitely questioning why we have to perpetuate a belief that is fucking silly.
And George's rebuttal.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's a little disrespectful, I guess, but I don't care. I think that if you're that upset by that, I'm sure if we see more, I'll call it out. If you're upset by just that, then like you're a little too sensitive.
Rebuttal to this is that just because some people in his religion hold these beliefs doesn't mean that you can just lump all Christians into that line of thinking.
Well, understand that like that was a huge like realistically speaking, that was a pretty big foundation was to be homophobic. It's a very new thing for new age Christians to respect gay people and to like think that they're actually people. And so that's something to understand. That's not really very traditional. Like I said, Curly, like he respects gay people. You know what I mean? Like that's why I like him a lot. I actually respect Curly significantly. He's a really good guy who has like very strong religious values that don't exist to oppress people. They exist to be a moral guidance. He's a great guy, and his dad is too. I've actually talked to his dad. His dad's a really great guy. It's actually makes me a little bit jealous. He has a really good father. And I think that it's because his father's very religious. And you know what I mean? Like I'm, you know, I have quite a bit of respect for the two of them. Just being real, bro. They have good values. I know it sounds silly, but as I get older, I'm gravitating towards people with good values. You know, and that's the kind of person I would prefer in my life is somebody like Curly. He's a good guy. Gideon. You know, because there's a lot it can be difficult to stay on the right path, bro. You know what I mean? And you know, the way I look at it is God kept his father and his family, bro. You know, it's something very powerful to respect. You know what I mean? But I also dunk on religion too. I have fun. You know, I make my jokes. I have a little bit of fun. You know? So.
And that he feels that Logan doesn't even know enough about the Bible to speak on it in general. Then the situation continues to get heated as Logan continues to be very disrespectful.
Because I'll be honest with you, bro. Jesus Christ fucks.
Oh God.
And people don't think that about him.
Oh, so now he's just trying to antagonize George. Okay, well, it's kind of funny because this is their back and forth, though.
And it's safe to say that this relationship might not last the test of time, but something that will last the test of time is your face. That is, if you take advantage of the offer from today's video sponsor, Teach Hanley.
No, dude, never wash your face. That is a very feminine thing to do. So cringe. Listen, you don't need to wash your face. You need to wash your chest, your balls, your butt, underarms. But anything you can't reach with your hands doesn't need to be washed. You know what I mean? Except your back. I scrub my back clean. Not because I want to clean my back, but because when you scrub your back, it makes you have more pimples. And then my wife will pick them from. And that's like a very cathartic thing. And if you don't understand you're having your wife pick your pimples on your back, then you're just not a real man. Religion has also torn families up, so it really depends. Yeah, that's true. Like there's some people who were born in very devout families and they were like gay and they were shunned for their homosexuality. So it's a big life experiencing. It seems like Logan's trying to bust his friend's balls at this point. So I bust Curly's chops a little bit about religion sometimes, but nothing crazy because I don't want him to disrespect him. Do you think you can respect gay people but not agree with their actions? Probably. You could probably be respectful. I think the most respectful, devout, religious or traditional religious take is that I don't agree with the lifestyle, but it's not for me to judge, it's for God to judge. I still think that fundamentally, if you think that someone's going to go to hell for being gay, I understand where your views come from, but that's still kind of shitty. But then again, don't treat gay people differently. I wash my face. Relax. I'm fucking joking. Okay? I'm joking. I don't need to wash my face. Look at this. I have all this here. What do you want me to do? Put shampoo in my beard?
For the most part, it seems like Logan would just not back down, as he was just dying for that got you moment.
You always yell at me about gay people. I never once talk about gay people.
Because you're subscribed to the doctrine that perpetuates that information.
I'm subscribed to love my neighbor.
You're sitting in the same boat with some really hateful people.
Let me help.
You're a racist? Yeah, homophobic Christian. Obviously you do.
No, shut up, stop. I know people that hate me, that treat me better about my faith than you, and you're my best friend.
Now, I will say,
that's fair. That part's fair. Like, I don't care about the whole dunking on it, but like that's there. So from what I've seen so far, I shampoo my beard. Relax. Is that with the Bobby Lee thing? There seem to have been, and I could be wrong, an issue of boundaries. Bobby's touching this guy. The guy's like, "Don't touch me," which is a fair boundary to set. And Logan doesn't seem to. And again, I could be wrong. Affirm that and be like, "Hey, Bobby, maybe don't touch my buddy here." Now we have an issue where Logan's trying to rile his friend up, and his friend's like, "Bro, listen, like I'm religious, and please just respect this boundary that I'm setting as your friend." And Logan's kind of just dunking on. Now, the motivation's probably just to fuck with his friend, and he's probably also irritated, so he's going too far. But like, that's a fair thing to get upset by. But I think that this is less of a religious issue, and this is more of a friend issue. Like Logan Paul's being a bad friend to his friend. He's not respecting his differences here.
The whole time.
There are people who are religious who don't subscribe to like the traditional ideology that gays are going to die and go to hell. You know what I mean? And if he was one of them that was like, I hate gay people, I hope they die, then like, yeah, sure. Pretty sure the friend touched Bobby first. Oh, okay, well, he fucked me in the ass then, huh? But the point here still stands though, is that his friend's like, yo, bro, come on. Like, you know that this means a lot to me. Could you stop busting my balls? And I think that that's fair.
George remained pretty respectful.
I think it's okay to make general jokes, but like if your friend's super religious, like you know, you don't need to go too hard in on him.
While Logan said his religion was silly and even mocked Jesus Christ. George says they have had this built-up animosity for months over this topic, and so I'm not surprised that Logan is now publicly taking aim at his head, especially now that he has pissed him off.
Yeah, you shouldn't be doing that with your friends, bro. Like, you have to learn to respect some friend boundaries.
It's almost like when you and your girl are beefing, and every little thing she does makes you mad all of a sudden. Like, why the fuck do you gotta eat your food like that?
I want you to say it right now.
Who's right?
Whose God is real?
My God is real in my eyes.
Not Allah.
I don't believe that Allah is real in my eyes.
A lot of Muslims would disagree with you.
But does that mean I have to disrespect their beliefs? No, absolutely not.
And so the debate goes on, and it really comes to a head when Logan...
What a boring conversation, though. You know what I mean? Like, what do you... Like, I just don't understand the outcome. Oh, you think your God's real? Idiot. It's like, okay. What is the productivity? You know what I mean? I don't know. Okay, whatever.
Logan tells George that he needs to seek therapy because he is emotionally unintelligent, and basically that just believing in God and the Bible is not enough to sustain a healthy state of mental health.
It could be. Depends on the person, bro. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. God can be a very powerful figure in a lot of people's lives, and it could also, for good and bad. Like I said, it's good for Curly. It could be bad for other people. Maybe if you're a devout gay... If you're very gay, it may not be a super powerful thing. It might put you in a space where that doesn't teach you to love yourself. You know what I mean? Like, it depends on the person. You know what I mean? I think you don't need therapy, but...
The therapist, what category am I following?
Emotional intelligence.
Me?
Yes.
I'm not emotionally intelligent. Could you pick a time and frame any day of our life?
Here's one. 3 weeks ago when you were sitting in that chair, you stormed off this exact podcast because you were upset about something a comedian said.
And that's when the gloves really come off.
Oh, they're really just going back and forth. Yeah, you can't hold this animosity.
And the true feelings from George towards Logan really start to come out. And he basically says that Logan will do absolutely anything for power and notoriety, even when that means hurting those that he loves.
I think you're so giant with your words, you really don't know what you step on when you say things. Like, really. Like, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way or trying to pull at you. I think...
Wow, this is such a polite response, though. He's like, I don't think you understand what you're saying to me right now, but in a way where it's like, I don't think you understand how disrespectful you're being right now. That's actually this guy is actually really nice. What the fuck? Wait, what?
You're so giant with
anything for power and notoriety.
Hold
even
on.
when that means hurting those that he loves.
I don't think it's for power and notoriety. I think that he's a dickheaded friend, but hold on. This really got me.
You're so giant with your words, you really don't know what you step on when you say things. Like, really, like, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way or trying to pull at you. I think that you have so much going on in your life and you're so like power driven that you will mold past your friends and family accidentally without knowing.
I mean, that's like a respectful thing to say. Like, you're saying things that you don't understand, like how hurtful they are. Are Allah and God different people or the same people? They're both God. I mean, they're both God, bro. All right, that's pretty much it. Yeah, you know, George was talking about a low point in his life, and Bobby said to George to tell his life story shorter and then send George over the edge. Okay, if that was what it was, it's kind of funny. But either way, you know what I mean? You know your friend's sensitive. You know what I'm saying? He stormed off Bobby. I think that's okay. I don't know why Logan is holding it so harshly to his chest about him storming off. He's just a very nice, respectful, traditional, sensitive person. And that's not a bad thing. It's okay to be a little sensitive. I will say it's a little bit frustrating. And again, I'm gonna bring it back a little bit. You know, I'm gonna bring it back a little bit. But it's a little frustrating when you have a man, George, who seems to be a very respectful, religious person, and he seems to be very sensitive. But because he's sensitive, Logan seems to think that it's bad for him to be sensitive. Why is it bad for a man to be sensitive? Explain that to me. He has devout beliefs in his religion. Why is it bad that he's a little sensitive? It's okay. This is what we talk about when we talk about toxic masculinity. I'm not even fucking kidding. The dude's just a little bit sensitive about his religion, and he's expressing that boundary to a friend. And it's, oh, fuck this guy. Why? That's your friend. It's okay for him to be sensitive about God. That's perfectly fine. Who cares, motherfucker? It's fucking weird that Logan is like, he's just kind of an asshole. He's kind of a bad friend. I think that's why I'm a little frustrated. I don't like bad friends. You know, like, you know what I mean? I don't like bad friends. Also, I don't know if he put this in the video, but apparently George said Logan said if he ever gets upset, he could walk off the show and it would be okay. Did he actually say that?
Grin all over Logan's face that he is not happy with the situation, and specifically very annoyed with George. The way he's so dismissive of any point that George makes, and combative about his point of view, really tells me that he wasn't here to debate, but to condemn George for his beliefs. It's like one person wanting to win a debate, while the other is really
It doesn't really seem like that. It seems more to me like he just wanted to hurt his friend because he was frustrated. And that's even shittier, I think.
just trying to have a conversation. And yes, personally, I do hate it when religious individuals tell others they should be religious too. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to give a religious person pushback. But I also think it's just as bad to demand someone to go to therapy.
No, it's just the intention behind what Logan's doing that's so shitty. You know what I'm saying? That's shitty.
And there's definitely a time and place to talk about this sort of thing. And then when George starts talking about this dark place he was in, like he tried to do on the Bobby Lee podcast, Logan basically tells him that he's a big old puss.
The 2 years that I had the hardest years of my life was this past 2 years. Did anybody here know this? No one checked in on me. There's some people that can't express, like you're asking for a big.
That makes sense as to why he's very religious. I think some people are drawn to religion because they have a lot of hardship in their life, and it's like the only thing, like if you believe in an omnipotent force that controls your destiny to some capacity, you can rationalize that these bad things are happening for a good reason. You know, I think we've all been there, man. I've been there. I don't know if I believe in the traditional concept of God, but I can respect that. I can respect that struggle. I've definitely been in a time in my life, you know, I've definitely been in a time in my life that was hard, bro. I remember, this is one of the things that made me fall in love with my wife, is, I'm not going to get into the specifics, but there was a time where I was so love-starved in my life that my wife got me, and this was before we were married. This was when we first started dating. My wife got me a chapstick and my favorite bag of Doritos for my birthday. It was we barely were dating, and that's what she still got me something for my birthday, and a little drawing of a nice picture of the two of us. She outlined a picture and gave it to us. I cried because she got my favorite bag of Doritos for me at work, a nice little picture to put in my wallet, and chapstick because I worked outside in the cold, and it was my favorite medicated chapstick. And like, you know what I mean? A little bit of love goes a lot of way, brother. You know? I think that's some real shit. And sometimes you kind of need that in your life. You know what I mean? And that could have such a profoundly positive impact on somebody. And you should really understand that. These little things matter. You know? These little things matter, brother. You know what I mean? These little things matter, brother.
Babysitter, you're 29.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying you can't knock something that I've gone through and helped save me.
I'm not knocking.
Oh, I just want to...
The 2 years that I had the hardest years of my life was this past 2 years. Did anybody here know this? No one checked in on me. There's some people that can't express.
Like you're asking for a babysitter. You're 29.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying you can't knock something that I've gone through and helped save me.
I'm not knocking that.
You don't know the steps that I took.
And there are
Damn, you're not a babysitter? Bro, Logan's such a bad friend. Oh, what the fuck, man? That's sad. I don't like that. I don't like that, bro. Bro, this is what I'm talking about. I'm gonna get a little cringe. I'm a little emotional right now. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm identifying with some of this stuff. But bro, like, love is very powerful. Love is very powerful, and to me, listen, I think we need more men with love, and Logan isn't a man with love. His friend is, and he gets that love from religion, and I respect that. You don't have to get your love from religion, but you're just a bad friend, man. And that's sad. And I don't know, Logan. What I do feel, though, is that if you have struggles in your life of bonding with people, this is why. You know what I mean? It's not about what'll end him. It's more about, like, that's just, like, not good, bro. Have a little empathy. You know? Logan gives off don't cry, you're a man energy. Logan gives off he's never really struggled in his life energy. Like in any true capacity, and has no empathy or love for other people because he's never had to. You know?
obviously not going to see eye to eye on these topics. Like I said, I think this was all much more of a testament to where the two's relationship lies at the current moment. The tension is obvious, and like I already said, there's a way to have these conversations without taking personal shots at someone for what they believe, especially in regards to something as personal as religion in a conversation amongst friends. All in all, I will give George his credit because he did keep his composure here. I still don't think the dude should be a comedian, but yeah, I had to throw him some bail. Have y'all had similar conversations with your friends? Do you think that George is about to get the boot? Y'all let me know what you guys think down below. As always, I do want to thank you guys for watching today's video, dropping a like, and as you guys know, it's been your boy the Tan Superman, and some of the podcast beef out here needs to be covered, so I'm out.
Alright, yeah, good video.
I want Papa God to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.